And speaking of chapter and verse, he's released on your label. I want to take a sec to talk about DTLA. Give us the breakdown. I know you're the label head and A&R. I said earlier you released 37 tracks on your own label. You give back not only to people who need a platform, but some of your best work has been released on it. It's really, really special, something special that you've been building.
So starting the label was because I had built I had actually been a part of a label called Crafted originally.
Okay, I think I've heard of that actually.
They're based out of the UK.
Okay.
Crafted Underground was doing a lot of tech house, but they're more for like progressive house UK, because kind of more like melodic techno.
Gotcha.
They also had Crafted Digital, which was anyway. So when I came on as a partner there, I was trying to do something unique. So I created. I was living downtown, and I just was trying to steal off the acronym of downtown Los Angeles. We call it like Deep Tech Los Angeles. So I created a brand there, and I just didn't feel like the guys were like helping it move along fast enough. So I left there and started it off as its own label. And that was like kind of like beginning of 2019. The nice cool thing about like how I've kind of run the labels, I got to sit next to Tool Room for a good period of time. You got to observe like how they rolled stuff out with. Like I worked with their marketing director.
Yeah.
Miles Shackleton. I worked with their AR guys for a long time. They're a great model. Understand is like not a lot of these big labels are run as functioning companies.
True.
Two of them that defected, and a couple others are fully functional staffed companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me coming from like a business background, that's one of the coolest things to see is like actually, you can be doing your passion and actually running it like a business. Because a lot of these guys, they're running labels a little bit of like smoke and mirrors, about and the cool thing about Tool Room is the consistency. Always, how they rolled stuff out. So, I kind of mimicked like the compilations. How do we do the compilations? Well, we roll them out like that. We make it as a platform for people, who are up and coming. It's almost like the platform to be heard.
Yeah.
Then, like kind of we were joking around in the Mafia, you get made.
Yeah.
You go to the single release to do it.
Yeah.
So once you get it to a single release, then you can continue up. But the single release, you have to earn that, or you've earned it. You paid your dues, like other places. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're not going to come to me like having a couple of releases and then I'm just going to do a single release.
Right.
Unless maybe my cousin or something. I don't know. Anyway, but the point is that like that's worked really, really well because it gives a chance for me to like give people like we don't sign things as is. Like I'll give a lot of feedback and stuff like that. So like kind of like how you do your show.
Yeah.
For me to kind of connect with like producers being like, hey, first of all, if you're not receptive to some feedback on a track, I don't want you on my label to begin with.
Yeah. Well said.
You can't take any feedback that there needs to be a sign or tweak here. Now, if you're done with the track and you come back to me and say like, hey, Jason, how about the next one? That's cool. But if you're against getting feedback, you're not DTLA material. I can tell you that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So any effect. So we built it of the compilation, and then you could have multiple compilation releases to then graduate to a single release. But we wanted to set a bar where there's like, there's a bar to be here and then there's a bar to be here. Mm-hmm. And that way I could be a lot more selective with like, who I choose and put on both sides of it, And maybe a guy who's at here, I say back to him, and this is really a hard thing. Sometimes like I'm giving feedback to guys who've been producing for it. I'm like, and they're like, it's like tough, it doesn't fit. You get a little nervous sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
But it's worked well because I think people really respect that. Like, if you put the energy and invest in the tracks and they feel that you're like, you want to see it be as successful, as they do. And you kind of create that bond where, like you have a relationship with them instead of like, some of these labels and even some of them that I've released now, they're releasing one every week. It's just who's filling it in this week? Did it? And once it gets that next week, if you didn't do really great, who even remembers what you did? I didn't really like that. I'd rather, don't get me wrong. We may do it every 2 weeks, but you got to, for that 2 weeks, I'm putting 110% in promoting that track for, for the label. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it's clear you're running a really clean operation. I mean, anything from the branding and your releases. I mean, I'm not surprised that you've taken, well, there's a saying that I really like, and it's nothing is original, right? The sense that we all take something that somebody else has learned and then we make it our own. And I think DTLA is a great label, and you've given platforms to people like Chapter and Verse, Charles D. I always say their name wrong. Cleaston Clutch, Papa Marlin. These are all guys that are great producers, and they're not like world famous. And again, you've released 37 tracks, and it's really, really inspiring to see. And I know there's a lot of young producers out there that feel like it's hard to release on a label for whatever reason, but you seem like someone who's very reachable, very willing to work and hear people out and help. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that, Jason.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, for real. What do you look for in a demo, though, when people reach out to you, though?
Okay, so the first thing I'll listen to is production quality. Now there's always things to go back and correct on a production standpoint. So that's not the end, but it's still got to be at the quality of the production. And I will be honest, a lot of the ones we get through the demo box don't even pass that qualification.
Okay.
But, so the second part I look is does it have, and as I was kind of mentioning earlier, does the track have a vocal idea? Does it have a vocal hook? Does it have an identity to it? Meaning, like, if I walk away from that track, am I going to remember about it? Am I going to, if I hear it, am I going to know that's a Redux Saints track? Am I going to know that's a DTLA style track? When I send stuff out on my DJ promos, is it going to be like, oh, this is another dope track from DTLA? Because that matters to me. It's like, I want the consistency in building the brand each time.
Yeah.
I don't want one track to be like this, another track to be like night and day from it, and people being like, did they change their sound? I mean, what's going on?
You don't want to confuse the fans, like you said earlier.
Yeah. So that idea of building the track is huge with me, and that's a lot of time. That's what usually gets the cut from a lot of people. Now, if let's say there's parts that I feel like you can fix in both parts, that's when I start giving feedback to it.
Okay.
And that's when I start working with the producer potentially to to improve the track, or they maybe not. Sometimes my feedback doesn't improve the track, but for the most part, it's in an effort to kind of just make it more in terms of like what we're trying to do. Now, when we say the identity of the track, we have the foundation, which is the groove. Then we have on top of that, we may have some stabs, some synth hits, and stuff like that. That's usually the identity is really brought about maybe by a vocal hook,
right,
or a melodic hook, or maybe both. Tech house, it's a lot. Most of the time, it's the vocal hook, because you're still in the kind of house range where you're saying like, we still want to kind of do something that kind of you'll walk away remembering the track, and that's very different in different genres. Like in melodic techno, it's usually like the melodic hook. It's different. You may have a synth hit of over certain notes that sticks in your head. So that now we also sign different. So we have to apply that to both too. Like Charles D. is very different than Chapter and Verse.
Very different.
Night and day. Two different fan bases.
Yeah.
I would even say Charles D's fan base, because they're all like your kind of Price guys. Like they're tough. You don't want to screw around with them. They'll get mad. I mean, they'll get on your ass if you do something wrong. So there's different to us, and like that was another thing. It was like I didn't want to just house. I wanted it to be an underground house label, but still keeping it within the realm of what I consider underground. Like still consider house, tech house, and some techno to be like kind of fit in that category.
Right.
But that allows us, like if we do our label takeovers, to do a good, spectrum of music, or maybe we go house, tech house to, techno in the evening time.
Man, do I love Sherm in the booth. Oh, hey, I think you do too. Hope you enjoyed that piece of content. If you're looking for more, make sure to go to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any upcoming Sherm in the Booth interviews, live sets, new music, exclusive artist interviews, Sherm's Word, sub-pack reviews, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything entertainment. Cheers.